Shop Talk Tech Tips are brought to you by S&S, proven performance for the power sports industry.
What's going on, everyone? This is Josh from Steel City Blacksmithing. Today we're going to be building an exhaust using a CT Newman engineering exhaust cutting fixture. So I'm going to take you through the assembly of the fixture and how to build an exhaust with it. So first up, you got to weld the bolt to the center of the fixture. Fits nice, not much to it. It's recommended in the instructions that are very detailed to use 308 or 309 filler rod because the bolt's stainless. I'm using a Lincoln Square Wave 200 TIG and a Jazzy 10 3/32 tungsten, nothing too fancy. The instructions say to be mindful of warping the base plate, so I'm going to let that cool down a little. Should be good. So next we gotta assemble the core plates. They all call for 2 of these plates, 3 of these tall spacer tabs. They have a taller tab on the top. You'll know the difference between the tall ones and the short ones. And a pointer tab. It says in the instructions to use the bolt as a pin to align it. That seems to be the easiest way to do it. Slide your second plate on the top. You'll know if your tabs aren't right because this will be down in there. Make sure everything's nice and flush, looks good. I'm going to use the nut to hold the plates down. It says in the instructions just use fusion tacks. You want everything to be nice and flush. If you're using a MIG welder, you'll want to grind your tacks down. It just calls for tacks. You don't need anything crazy to hold it together. Repeat that process on the 2 other plates. Next is the assembly of the circular cover plates. Pretty simple. You need a cover plate. You need 3 or 4 short tabs. The smaller one's gonna get 3, obviously. Pretty simple stuff. I'm gonna use the bolt and the nut for a hold down. Then repeat the process for the 2 other plates. So next up, it says to weld either the wings on, which are these, or the miter guide. I'm setting this up for a Powermatic Model 87 bandsaw with a 24-inch table. My miter guide is like right on the outside of this plate. So I'm gonna weld the wings on first so I have something to put the miter guide under. So I beveled that. It suggests to bevel it and grind your weld smooth. So I beveled it, got it prepped. Now I'm gonna weld it. So now that we got the wings welded on, ground smooth, it's time to weld the miter guide on. After measuring about 1,000 times, we found out that the table and the blade isn't square. So we kind of had to compensate for it. This part of the assembly of this fixture, it's kind of going to be unique for everybody. Everybody's saw is going to be a little bit different. So you kind of just have to do what will work for you and make sure that the blade doesn't hit the fixture sliding through that slot. Definitely take your time during this part and make sure everything's right for whatever you have. So we're just going to tack it on and make sure it slides, and then if it does, we'll go ahead and weld it more. So you can slide all the way through that travel without the blade touching the fixture. So we're pretty good where we're at. They put 3 holes in that piece of metal to plug weld. Since mine's kind of hanging off the side, I don't know if I'm going to do that. I might just put a couple little beads here and here on the outside. So after I verified that it will travel all the way through there without interfering with the blade, everything looked right. I went ahead and finished the welds on the end of the miter guide. I put 2 half-inch welds on the outside here because my miter guide is hanging over the edge of this plate. I was able to do that. In other situations, you'd be able to flip it and fill the holes that are provided. This part of the assembly is kind of going to be unique for every different bandsaw out there, so it's kind of going to be whatever works for you in your situation. But I think we're ready to move on to the next part. Unfortunately, the exhaust builder kit I bought, the radius doesn't match any of the supplied fixtures. So all I'm doing is lining up this edge with this side of the fixture because I need this piece for my bike. Pulling the exhaust tubing down until the radius touches right about here. Not too far because you want this to be up against the fixture. Lining up your mark with the blade. Tightening the first nut to hold that angle. Top plate on. Make sure that's lined up with your blade so you don't cut it. Like that. So after finishing up my exhaust today using the CT Newman engineering exhaust cutting fixture, I couldn't be happier with how the tool performed. It made the entire job go together a lot easier than just freehanding your cuts on a bandsaw. I would definitely suggest it to anybody planning on building an exhaust in the future. It's definitely a valuable tool to have in your shop, even if you only use it every once in a blue moon. It'll save you a ton of time, so it's definitely worth the investment. I'd like to give Chris from Cycle Source Magazine a shout out for letting me use his fixture and giving it a try on my own bike. So.